Now just watch this. I don't know where this is, but imagine that being in a car. I'm assuming it's an electric scooter, either that or his bike's full of rip-raps, fireworks. It just doesn't bear thinking about. So that's a scooter. A fatal crash and fire on Highway 17 in Santa Cruz County caused traffic to gridlock on Friday, according to the California Highway Patrol traffic incident log. A coroner was called to the scene on Highway 17 northbound near Vine Hill Road. According to the CHP log, a Tesla veered out of control before slamming into a guardrail and tree just after 11:20 a.m. The Tesla burst into flames. Video shot by witnesses show. Emergency crews were unable to enter the wrecked vehicle because it was fully engulfed. Several motorists called 911 to report that they witnessed one vehicle speeding, swerving and tailgating leading up to the accident. CHP officers shut down all southbound and northbound lanes for 1 hour. Tesla erupts in flames in Midtown Memphis.
Happening now, the Memphis Fire Department responded to a vehicle fire on Poplar Avenue. This is right in front of Northwest Prep Academy on Poplar.
By Linda Coombs, published August 21st, 2025, Memphis 10. The Memphis Fire Department says a Tesla erupted in flames along Poplar Avenue in Midtown on Thursday. The call came in as a report of a vehicle set fire at 1:45 p.m. Crews remain at the scene at Poplar near Cleveland Street. The Tesla sustained heavy fire damage with the entire back of the car melted when Action News 5 cameras arrived at the scene. The cause of the blaze remains under investigation. Milton Keynes citizen, 28th of July 2025. 9 vehicles were involved in a blaze which started in a Milton Keynes car park in the early hours of Sunday, July 27th. 3 fire crews were called to a secure car park in Northfield Drive in the Northfield area of the city just before 1:40 a.m, where 9 vehicles were alight, including 1 hybrid car. Firefighters used hydraulic cutting equipment, 5 sets of breathing apparatus, 2 main jets, 2 hose reel jets and thermal imaging cameras. Not sure why they'd need to use hydraulic cutting equipment unless there were people inside, which I don't think there were. Crews remained on the scene for some time, damping down and monitoring temperatures, with a crew returning for a re-inspection at 6 a.m. Bucks Fire and Rescue said crews had to return to the scene at just before midday on July the 27th, following the reignition of a battery of an electric vehicle on fire. It set fire at 1:40. At 1:40 a.m. and then it reignited like 10 hours later. One crew remained at the scene for some time afterwards to monitor the lithium battery, with re-inspections carried out at 6:25 p.m, 8:45 p.m, and 11:10 p.m, so nearly 24 hours later. Further re-inspections took place on Monday, July 28th at 1:40 a.m, 24 hours later. 3:50 a.m, 5:50 a.m, and 8 a.m, with a further inspection scheduled for midday. Electric vehicles, eh? Then we get to the daddy of all stories. I used to work with a guy. I used to work with a tank driver called George Wagstaff when I left school and became an apprentice draftsman. And George was telling me that he was the crane driver at a place called Sadler's at Dock Road, Lytham, where I started my apprenticeship. George Wagstaff was a comedian, and during the war he'd been a tank driver, and he was telling me the amount of shells that didn't go off when they fired them, and of course what happens when they don't go off. Basically they put them in the barrel, lock the thing, fire them, they're supposed to boom, shoot out, and then they get the empty, slide it in. What happens when they don't go off? Now I remember a long time ago, I was at my girlfriend's house and it was bonfire night, and she had a 6-year-old daughter, and they've got a garden outside, and I was lighting the fireworks outside for a 6-year-old daughter. I lit it, and blue touch paper burnt down, got to the fire, but it didn't go off. So I went back and I lit it again, And I looked up where they were watching the window, and this 6-year-old little girl was looking at me going, don't. Of course, even she knew that you weren't to return to a lit firework because it was bad for you. So what do? You've got the enemy firing at you, and you now have a live shell that you've just hit the percussion cap, the detonator, whatever you want to call it, and it's not gone off. What do? You know, you're in the tank. If you pull it out and it explodes inside, then you've had it. So, I guess, I mean, he even said that they stopped drinking at lunchtimes in the UK because there were so many misfires from munitions, and they thought it was because the Brits were going for lunch, getting drunk, and not doing the job properly in the afternoon. That's, you know, by the way. But who would have thought that, you know, I mean, you know, all those stories of, like, you know, when they're building ice cars and the carburetor drops off the assembly line and the next minute there's a huge fire and they shut the factory down, call the fire brigade in, everybody's got to be evacuated. Do you not remember them stories? It's because they never happened. Because stuff like that doesn't happen. Basically, an ice car is non-flammable till it gets to the end of the production line and they put a gallon of petrol in the car. It's all right, nothing's going to happen to it. I suppose it could get an electrical short, but here we go. This 21st of the 8th, 2025. Grunheide fire at Tesla's German factory. A fire broke out in Tesla's battery assembly building at Giga Berlin earlier this week. No injuries or environmental damage were reported. No, they've not reported it. And production was temporarily halted while authorities in Tesla handled the incident. Now, how did that happen? What could possibly happen to cause a fire? Because you can imagine this, with all this toxic material about, it will be immaculate. The place will be immaculate. The conveyor belt, the whole process will be hermetically sealed. So how did it happen? According to the German Handelsblatt, a fire broke out on Monday in a building where battery packs are manufactured. All employees, including those working on drive unit assembly in the same building, were evacuated. It reportedly took several hours to extinguish the fire. Tesla did not respond to the question from the German news outlet, but the Oderspree district, where the plant is located, confirmed the incident. Tesla reported the event to the authorities, stating that there had been a small fire battery pack production around 3 p.m. on Monday. A small fire that took several hours to put out. According to the district spokesperson cited by Handelsblatt, some battery cells fell from the conveyor belt on the first floor through a shaft into the ground floor. The fire appears to have been limited to these cells in the transport system on the ground floor. So these cells, not a battery, not a full battery assemble, cells that go in a battery, fell off the conveyor belt and started a fire which took several hours to put out. Some cells. The Brandenburg State Office for the Environment, LFU, provided further details. A spokesperson reported that several stacks of cells fell from the conveyor, with a total of 512 cells affected. That corresponds to about 2/3 of a complete battery pack for a passenger car, Handelsblatt quoted. It was not specified which cell type was involved. Tesla uses both CATL, LFP cells for the Model Y base variant, and NCM cells from LG Energy Solution for the long-range versions at the Brandenburg site. While Tesla continues to investigate the cause, it has already been confirmed that no one was injured. Environmental damage has also been ruled out. The firefighter water was fully contained within the building. Now that's important. When you see these EVs are on fire outside and the fire brigade are spraying them with water, like 90,000 gallons or something in some cases. All those 90,000 gallons go into the drains. Where do you think they go? Where do you think that collects? According to the district, meaning no contaminated water leaked into the groundwater, a specialised cleaning company has been tasked with removing the firefighting water and cleaning affected areas. It is not yet known whether this has already taken place. The district stated that Tesla took all necessary measures in line with the emergency plan agreed with the local water authority and WSE. Production stopped immediately after the incident on Monday afternoon. According to Handelsblatt, operations resumed only gradually on Tuesday. Drive unit assembly restarted in the afternoon, while battery pack assembly did not restart at all. Employers unable to perform their usual production tasks attended training sessions and courses, including first aid classes. Just imagine when all these EVs, and we've got the 80% ZEV, and we've got the 80% ZEV mandate in the UK, we're just going to pollute ourselves, aren't we? You know, it won't be long before there's a flipping reservoir polluted, fires in towns where you've got to evacuate because of the toxic smoke. It just really doesn't bear thinking about. Thanks for watching. See you in the next video.